Hey, what's up? It's Andy. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is my November wrap-up. This was the month of ExploreAthon, and I ended up reading 29 books, so we have a lot to get into, and I'm going to try to keep it quick, so let's go. As always, I'm just going to talk about each book in the order I read them. So the first book I read was actually a graphic novel, Moonstruck Volume 1 by Gracie Er. This is a graphic novel series that takes place in a magical college town. It was super cute. Chet the Centaur is my favorite. I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. Very diverse and has a female-female relationship. Next, I read The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This is the long-awaited sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, which is one of my favorite books. In The Testaments, you get 3 points of view. You get Aunt Lydia, and you get to learn a lot about her besides the fact that she was the evil aunt in The Handmaid's Tale. She has some more depth to her. You follow 2 other teenage girls, one who lives in Gilead and one who actually lives in Canada. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I see a lot of people complain that they really didn't like this book and only liked Aunt Lydia's parts and like it didn't do anything for them and ruined the original. For me personally, I didn't feel that way. I think it added to it and I really enjoyed it and got some more answers that I've been wanting for years from The Handmaid's Tale. Then I read an arc that I got on NetGalley, The Witches Are Coming by Lindy West. This is a collection of essays that are very political and feminist in nature, which is par for the course for Lindy West. I did enjoy this author's other book, Shrill, but for some reason I just could not get with this. The writing style to me felt really all over the place and bounced around everywhere. While I liked the ideas that she had and for the most part agreed, it's just the writing style I just couldn't. It wasn't cohesive to me. And for those reasons I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I would have given it a 2 if I didn't like the author anyway. The next book I picked up ended up being one of my favorites of the year, The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. This follows our main character, Violet. In the beginning of this book, you see that she is troubled. She's going through a lot and seeks comfort in relationships with men that aren't the healthiest. And her brother Sam is admitted to a mental hospital. There is discussion and representation of mental health in this book. The main character is also bisexual. During this time, she is sent up to this coast town in Maine to live with her uncle and kind of finds herself. She meets this group of friends and kind of joins them. So we've got a close-knit group of friends, kind of a found family situation. And she meets another character named Liv, and they are everything. This book was so good and just ticked so many of my boxes. I absolutely love it. Definitely gonna be in my top 5 of 2019. And if you haven't read it, you should definitely check it out if that sounds like something you'd be into. And if I didn't say I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, duh. Next I read Verdi by Colleen Hoover, which I never thought I would. This is sort of it's like part like psychological thriller, like suspense romance type situation. Basically, our main character named Lowen is a struggling author and gets an opportunity to ghostwrite books for a very popular author who is unable to finish her book series. Throughout this book, you get glimpses of a manuscript written by Verdi, the author, who's been in an accident and can't write anymore. And this is very dark and twisted. Trigger warnings for child abuse, abortion, parental neglect. Parts of it really were hard to read, but there is an aspect of, is this an unreliable narrator or what's really going on? And the ending is just as twisted and it's just a mess, but it's a wild ride. and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. The next books I read I'm not really going to get too into because I have a whole entire vlog dedicated to them. But I read The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh, gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then reread Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead and gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I remember how much I love this series and want to read all of them again. But definitely check out my vampire reading vlog to hear my whole thoughts on these books. Then I read Unfollow by Megan Phelps Roper. This is all about Megan's life living in the Westboro church and eventually leaving. It was so emotional, so well written. You can tell Megan is so smart, and it really makes you think about religion and how you treat people and all that kind of thing, and how much religion changed family dynamics for her. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. You should definitely check it out. I finally picked up Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, and okay, 5 out of 5 stars. I would live and die for Nathaniel Thorne, founded by new bisexual icon. This is a YA fantasy. It takes place, I think it was like the 1600s. And it's this fantasy world where there's sorcerers and their grimoires are alive. And these libraries have the duty of containing them. And when a grimoire goes on the loose and gets crazy, it turns into this big scary monster. That is not good. This is definitely a story for book lovers and magic lovers. This is definitely a favorite of 2019 as well. Then I read A Heart and a Body in the World by Deb Coletti. This was my book club's book for November. This was super emotional, made me ugly cry, but it's so good. This is all about a girl who runs cross country and she's trying to escape something, and the whole time you kind of think you know what happened, but you really don't know until the end. And this is one of those situations where you want to give trigger warnings because the topic that this covers is so impactful and has hurt so many people, but at the same time, it kind of ruins the book a little bit going into it. At least for me, I think it would have. Definitely a very impactful read, and it's kind of hard to talk about without just spoiling things. And this is one that is definitely worth reading twice because there's a lot of things that I think you pick up on knowing the ending that make more sense. Yeah, so I've heard about this all over BookTube for a while, and I'm glad I finally read it, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Binti Home by Nnedi Okorafor. This is the second book in the Binti trilogy. I really enjoyed this a lot more than the first book. I feel like this has more depth to it. What I liked about the first book is the start of the friendship between Binti and Medus at the end, and this went into that a lot more and deals with topics such as PTSD, gender identity, and family dynamics and expectations, all of that. Really cool sci-fi series. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and I will be reading the third and final book in this trilogy this month. Then I read Bloom by Kevin Panetta. This follows our main character, Ari, who works for his family bake shop, but he has these aspirations of being a musician and wanting to move to a bigger city. And he's trying to not have to work at the bake shop and finds Hector to help out at the bake shop. And long story short, the two of them end up falling in love, and this is a really cute, sweet, soft boy romance that also deals with family dynamics, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Lover or Loser by Tessa Bailey. I got this arc on NetGalley and was so excited. This is the sequel to Fix Her Up. Well, not a direct sequel, it's a companion series, but you know what I mean. And this is about Dominique and Rosie, whose marriage is suffering, And they end up going to this like last ditch marriage counselor guy to work their issues out. So Fix Her Up was all about baby girl this and baby girl that. And this book, Dominic was all about Honey Girl. And I will say this wasn't my favorite. I did like Fix Her Up better, but this was still really good. Like their chemistry was fire for sure. Dominic was not my favorite kind of dude. Like looks wise, sure, but his like overall personality and how he just kind of hid things from Rosie to protect her, but it's like, talk to your partner, don't keep it all in, you don't need to. But yeah, we always love a big, strong, buff, tatted ex-military dude, so that's cool. And Rosie was absolutely gorgeous herself, so that part of this was good. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars, and Lord, the third book is gonna be between Bethany and Wes, and that dynamic, even from this book, I was like, ooh, I need more of that. So we got another real good hate to love kind of thing coming our way in the next book in the series, and I'm so excited. Then I finally read Cricut Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I buddy read this with Leah and Layali, and it made me cry, but didn't disappoint. I'll say this every time, like Leigh Bardugo is a goddess, and this series is so magical. Kaz and Inej holding hands does so much more than like any kind of smut scene ever. So there's that, and I really did love how this ended. Yeah, I wasn't disappointed. 5 out of 5 stars, of course. Then I decided to pick up Moonstruck Volume 2 as well this month, and this one was a little different. Some of like the plot line I didn't 100% follow, but there's like these fairy dude frat bros, and like the fairy stuff is kind of cool, but yeah, I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. When other volumes in this series comes out, I definitely do want to pick them up. Then I picked up Crown of Coral and Pearl by Mara Rutherford. This was the group book for Team Lazirin for the ExploreAthon. And I wasn't expecting to really be into this, but I really liked it. It follows twin girls, Noor and Zadie. And then the mainland is called Alara, and a Verenian girl is made to be the prince of Alara's queen. This was really good. It had a lot of family dynamic type things. The world building was excellent. And it also had some political intrigue. And I'm definitely like looking forward to picking up the sequel to this. Don't know really what it's going to be called or when it comes out. I haven't looked that far into it. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then, at the recommendation of my friend Leah, I picked up Things We Didn't Talk About When I Was a Girl by Jeannie Vanasco. This book is all about the author confronting the boy who was her friend that raped her when they were younger. So, as you can imagine, that was very emotional. The way that Jeannie wrote this was amazing. It really kind of hit you right in the chest, you know? And it had a lot to say about rape culture and addressed different stigmas attached to rape victims and why they don't always speak up. It was so amazing, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. While we're on the nonfiction train, I also picked up 3 Women by Lisa Taddeo. This I couldn't really make heads or tails of. Like, I could kind of see what it was trying to do, but it really didn't do it, if you ask me. Basically follows the wives of 3 different women and like their relationships in regards to men and sex and their bodies. I don't know. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I could get the point, kind of, but then it also made me feel sort of icky. And being written by a woman of color, it was very whitewashed. So, I don't know. Middle of the road, 3 out of 5 stars. The Gracie Er by Kim Liggett. This was highly anticipated by me, and it didn't disappoint. I really did like it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know, something just kept me from giving it 5 stars for some reason, but I really did enjoy this. It really did remind me of The Handmaid's Tale in a lot of ways, but basically this is a YA dystopian feminist kind of story, and our main character is Tierney, who lives in this world where when girls are 16 they have what's called their grace year, where they're basically just sent off to the woods to lose their magic. Because, you know, coming into your womanhood and men not being able to control themselves around women for some reason is the woman's fault, you know. You know, the thing about going out in this, like, the forest for this year is there are poachers who kill these girls and cut off body parts to use as magic, which is basically like a magical form of Viagra. So that kind of says a lot too, I guess. Shoot, the more I think about this book, I think it might need to be 5 stars. I don't know. But I really did like it. And you see the dynamics between these girls during the grace year. Now, instead of coming together, a lot of the girls wanted to be at each other's necks and fight each other, which is unfortunate. This was very good. And the more I'm thinking about it, I think it is a 5 star, and I kind of do want to read it again already. Tierney is so strong, and like the intricacies and things that you find out toward the end of the book that have been playing out this whole time without her knowing was really well done as well. So yeah, very good. Check it out. 5 stars. I'm changing my rating on Goodreads. And then speaking of 5-star books, my most anticipated book of like forever, The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. If you don't know, what you don't know is a lot. This is the 3rd and final book in the Folk of the Air series, or the Cruel Prince series. Some of this was a little rushed, if you ask me, but I still got what I wanted out of it, and it was amazing. My heart. And then y'all know I'm on a new Stephen King kick, so I read Dolores Claiborne. This whole story is told through Dolores's point of view, talking to a police officer about the death of her employer. And it really goes more back in the day when her husband died during an eclipse. 5 out of 5 stars. Like, we love an old crotchety woman who takes revenge into her own hands. I talked about this in my haul, but yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. And also perfect if you need a book with an unreliable narrator. I decided to pick up Dear Sweet Pea by Julie Murphy. This is a middle grade who follows our main character, Sweet Pea, and her parents are getting divorced because her dad's gay. So she is learning how to deal with that and how other people are now treating her father since that's come out. So not only is she struggling going between 2 homes because of the divorce, she's also dealing with the loss of a friendship and trying to rekindle that. This was really cute. It's middle grade, so I'm not the targeted audience, and I think I would have enjoyed it more maybe if I, was in that target age range, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Julie Murphy is a queen, and she knows how to write fat main characters, and it's amazing. And then I read The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black, which I did talk about in my haul. This takes place in the town of Fairfold, where it's mortal, but they know fairies exist. And for decades, there's been this fairy boy asleep in a glass coffin that is unbreakable, and no one knows who he is or where he came from or what's going on. And then lo and behold, enter siblings Ben and Hazel, and the guy wakes up. A lot of drama and trickery from the fae folk as usual, and a mortal girl navigating that world. Similar to Jude, but not really. And this is a standalone, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Like, it's so magical, and the Fae world is just has my heart always. I decided to pick up Giant Days Volume 1 by John Allison, and oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did. This is a contemporary graphic novel series, and it follows these 3 girls in college. And there's a lot of good different representation in this, and I absolutely loved it. It's my new favorite graphic novel series, I think, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I'll definitely be picking up more volumes. Then I wanted to get in the little romancy Christmas spirit a little early, so I picked up His Secret Santa by Stella Ferris. And this is a novella available on Kindle. And this was a hate to love romance, and there was like this little bet involved, so I love all of those tropes. And the chemistry and the smutty scenes between the 2 characters were excellent. And it did a lot in 100 pages, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Speaking of romance, I went ahead and listened to the audiobook of the Bromance Book Club by Alyssa K. Adams. And this is about a group of guys who get together and read romance books to try to save their relationships and know how to please their women. And there are a lot of parts had me laughing out loud. It was really enjoyable, super cute. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I finally decided to pick up Orange. It's Orange, the Complete Collection Volume 1 by Ichigo Takano. And this is a sci-fi manga where this girl gets a letter from herself 10 years in the future. And she's reading these letters and trying to navigate how to go about her real current life to change things that end up happening. I like the friendships, and this was I think I've only read maybe 1 other manga, so it does take a little getting used to, but I really did enjoy it. I will say trigger warnings for suicide, depression. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I plan on picking up the 2nd volume this month. Last but not least was The Whisper Man by Alex North. This is a thriller about this murderer who they called the Whisper Man, who would like whisper to these little children in their windows at night and then abduct them, kill them, you know, that kind of thing, what serial killers do. This fast forwards to the present day, and they know who the Whisper Man is, and he's in jail. So this is following a detective that worked on that older case because, surprise, there's new murders happening that are following the same MO as the Whisper Man. So it's following the old detective and then the female detective that is currently working on the current case, and then this father and son who have just moved into this town looking for a fresh start because the mom has passed away. So you get the point of view of the dad and the point of view of the child. So it definitely has some like imaginary friend kind of vibes. And I say this is what Imaginary Friend should have been, wishes it was. Before I was even done reading that, I had to join Book of the Month and get my own copy because this needs to go back to the library. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and this, oh no, it's in competition with Lock Every Door for my favorite thriller of the year, really. So good, highly recommend. It is a little polarizing though, because I see some people that like really did not like it, so I don't know what that's about, really. Okay, so that's all 29 things I read in November. Comment down below, let me know what your favorite book of the month was. And go ahead and click subscribe if you want to see more from me and check out some of my other videos. As always, my social medias will be linked down below if you want to be my friend on any other platforms. And until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!